bunch of us that were there couldn't really be White Wolf, but we really just wanted to work with Vampire. And that's exactly why I went to work there. I didn't even like card games, really, but it kind of got like, it was like, hey, I'm going to get to work for with Vampire. And like the people on the V-Test team, like Matt Burke and Sean Carnes, and sure enough, that's what we were doing, was really basically just to be able to work with this franchise that we loved. And it was a lot of fun, and I think I told a story at opening ceremonies how it was the V-Test team that started ICC, and it was just kind of a fun, crazy time. And I did that for a few years. And so eventually, my travels took me east, but I'll rewind a second. In the summer of 1995, I met someone that would become a strange, unwitting life partner to me, and that would be Mr. Greg Fountain. And so I've known him what was that?
Special friend.
He said you said it was okay. But anyway, so I've known Greg for a really long time, and about a year later, I went down to work at White Wolf, and this was 1998. And I spent about a year there. We launched Vampire the Masquerade Revised. That was kind of the Laws of the Night Vampire Revised era. It was fun. I was kind of a young, impetuous kid, and soon enough, my travels took me west again. And the thing is, I never really got the vampire bug out. I was always finding some dumb excuse to keep working with this. And for a number of years, I went out to San Francisco to get in the video game business, and there was always like some movie, documentary, news organization, whatever. They'd always want to do interviews about vampires, and every time they'd want to do this, they'd always want to have a LARP component to it. So I was always kind of being this de facto PR guy. That every so often I'd get a phone call like, oh, these people want to do an interview. Can you take them to a LARP? Can you do this thing? So I kind of had this ongoing relationship with the company after a while. And I will say the most interesting of all these bizarre interview type things I did was one time I got a call, and they said, hey, America's Most Wanted has called us, and can you help set up a LARP for them? And I'm like, okay. So sure enough, apparently, as the story goes, somewhere in the Midwest, a guy breaks out of prison, goes to a game store, meets some LARPers, goes and plays vampire, and then disappears. Because, of course, the first thing you do when you break out of prison is want to go LARP. Yeah, so no, strangely enough, so we did, down in Los Angeles, we had an America's Most Wanted LARP, and that was with the cameraless help. So thank you from America's Most Wanted. I honestly don't know. I don't know whatever happened with that. But so at that point, my life in the game industry had by and large stopped. Is that I decided to pursue an acting career. I'd moved to LA, and I was kind of doing my thing. And this is a point where about 2003. And my funny goal in moving to Los Angeles was like, I was never a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. I really didn't like the show. It has kind of a goofy, cheesy version of vampires. It wasn't our vampires, so that even made it worse. But it was the only vampire show on television, so that was my little marquee. If I can get on this, I can say I've done it. And so sure enough, a number of years later, the coolest thing I can honestly say I ever did in Hollywood was I got to be a vampire on the very last episode, and I got to fight Spike. So that was pretty cool. And I don't know if it was some strange vampiric omen, like I had achieved some long quest of vampirism, but about a week later, a friend of mine at Activision calls and he says, hey Shane, we're doing this other Vampire the Masquerade game, and can you come talk to us? And I said, okay, but I'm not in the video game business, I'm not making games. He said, no, just come in. And I said, okay. And video game companies like Activision, big console companies, they're an interesting bunch. And they said, well, what do you know about this thing? Do you know anything? And I went to talk to the marketing guys. I'm like, yeah. And I kind of tell them the story I'm telling you now. And they're like, wow, we don't really understand this stuff. Can you help us? I'm like, no, I don't want to come work inside. I don't want a desk job. No. You can. Back then, the idea of community, that word didn't even get used. Like talking to the fans, we don't talk to the fans. So, but it was kind of this new thing. And I said, well, I guess maybe I could. Well, no, you can work from home. Oh, well, all right. Well, work from home, not bad. And for an actor, awesome. And they said, well, you can work from home and you can make this much money part-time. And I said, whoa, actor's salary, that much money for a whole month, 17 hours a day? Sold. But so long story short on that is that that ended up being about 2 years of my life. I ended up also, that kind of spun me into community managing like the other Hunter, the reckoning video game franchises for Vivendi. And all of a sudden, here I am back in Vampire Land again. And after that, I'm weaving in and out, and I was LARPing throughout kind of all this time. And then the kind of like the old girlfriend shows back up, and that would be these Jahoos. And kind of over, kind of a long courtship, you kind of come to those points where it's like, you know what? This is probably the coolest time ever. It's coming up for the World of Darkness, and if I didn't get on board and I didn't come home, I would regret it for the rest of my life. So here I am, and I'm back, and I'm loving it. So that's kind of my wacky story, and that could be anybody's story. So enough about talking about me, because that's going to get boring, and I'm going to run out of shit to say. But so comic relief over here. So hey, one of the things we did this year, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff we did, is we did this thing called the Succubus Club parties. Anyone go to one of those? Did you have any fun? So a lot of people think this was just an excuse for us to buy a shit ton of liquor. It kind of was. But no, the real truth behind this is that we have a really unique opportunity with the franchise, which most people don't, is that we can actually let you step inside our world and experience it. Like you're a Star Wars fan, you can't go to the Death Star for a couple hours. I mean, that doesn't really work. So our idea behind this was to give you a unique vehicle to interact with us and interact with each other. And the idea is that we're going to take this kind of roving vampire party all over the world. You know, if you guys are doing events going forward that you think is really neat or really cool, I really want to know about it. I mean, like, if you're going to do something, I'm not going to say we're going to do it every time and everywhere, but if you're doing something, you know something, it doesn't have to be just the camera, just anything that you think is cool, please, I'm serious, let me know. And if you had a really good time last night, I'll tell you what we're going to do next year makes that look like a little Christmas party. It's nothing. So... and I want to make one point, is it doesn't necessarily have to be about, getting alcohol or being drunk. I thought the idea of doing like a Victorian tea idea was kind of like a fun twist on the concept. You guys want to do like Bruja bowling night or something, that might be a little weird, but I'm open to it. So one of the things that I really did this year when I went out to all these things, people were always kind of wondering why I was always bartending, and I did learn a lesson. Pour to your tolerance, not to mine. My bad. It really gave me an opportunity, because it's really hard when you've got this many people to go out and meet everybody, but everybody wants to meet the bartender. So I talked to a lot of people over this year, and I'll be really serious about this, in that I really believe that the best way that you get to know any community or group of friends or just people in general is face-to-face communication. I'm really not I love, the internet is a great, useful tool in some respects. In others, it's completely impersonal, and that you'll never really, it really is. In that you only really get the opinions of a really select few, and if you really want to know what people really think, talk to them in a way that they don't know you're really just trying to get information. And that's really... Be devious. Don't let them know what you're doing. No, seriously. My goal this year was to really just kind of know what the general fan, the general member, really wanted. And I asked a number of questions over lunches, over dinners, just hanging out in the in the lobby, all kinds of things. And I asked one question.